Let's do a little bit of a summary here, and then I want to show you where all of this is going, okay? So think about it. Every point on the unit circle right now that we've talked about has a coordinate of x, y. And because it is a unit circle, meaning our hypotenuse is in fact 1, all of the x values are actually cosines. All our y values are actually sines of the reference angle. Ah, interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay, and the cool thing is then our tangent is based on, yep, sine over cos, which basically means take whatever the y value is that you determined here and the x value and just divide y by x and you get your tangent. That's amazing. Okay, but what about these guys? What about our reciprocals? Do you remember them? The reciprocal trigonometric ratios? Piece of cake. You know and I know that all the sine values are y's, right? But remember, they were originally over 1. So that means our cosecant values, which is the flip of sine, is actually a reciprocal of whatever it was. Oh, okay. So if I got a y value, just flip it, 1 over y, and there's my new cosecant. Same goes with sine. So sine, you know, or a cosine, I should say, cosine, you know, is the x values. Okay, so that means the secant is flipped, 1 over x. The tangent, same thing. Tangent is y over x, so your cotangent is x over y. But wait a second, does that apply for everything out there? Pretty close. You've got about 99% of it here. But what's important here to realize is this, is that's dealing, and what we've been dealing with mostly, is we've been dealing with quadrant number 1. Well, it's a bit of a drag, because if you think about it, what about the other 3 quadrants? Well, think about it. I'm just going to put this guy out here like this, and I'm going to put the same dot here, but I want you to look at this. What happens to the cosine now? Think about it. If cosine is our x value and sine is our y value, take a look at this. Isn't cosine going to be negative? And hey, look, sine is still going to be positive. So in fact, out here, our cosine is in fact negative, and our sine is positive. Look again. Watch this. What if we did something out here? Look, we're going negative x, but now we're going negative y. So guess what? Negative cosine, negative sine. But you knew that from the unit circle, didn't you? Yeah, case in point. Let's look at this one. Look, right out to here. Dun, da, da, da. There's our point. Positive x, negative y. Ah, okay. So positive x means a positive cosine, right? A negative sine. How beautiful. How do we remember this then? Well, let's take a look at something else here. Just before we do this, think about the tangent ratios out here. Tangent is, of course, sine over cosine. So if this is positive and this is negative, you got a positive over a negative, which makes tan out here a negative, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm going to put down negative tan out here. Take a look at this one. This is sine over cosine, but look, in terms of tan, right, this is a negative over a negative. So guess what? Tan out here is going to be positive. And then finally, look at this one. Tangent out here, which you know is sine over cos, is a negative over a positive, which makes this a negative tan out here as well. So how do we remember this? Well, there's an easy way to remember this, and I think you'll remember this from Math 20. It's called the CAST rule, or add sugar to coffee. And how does it work? Well, add, because all of the ratios out here, sine, cosine, and tangent, all of the ratios are positive. Okay? Sugar, that's S, goes right here. Well, think about it. The only one that's positive is sine. Look, cosine and tangent are both negative. Interesting. 2. Ah, there's the positive 10, but cosine and sine are both negative. Isn't that interesting? And then finally, coffee. Add sugar to coffee, or cast, right? Where the cosine is in fact positive, but everybody else is negative. So that idea of the cast rule really helps us figure out where everything is. Okay, cool. So what I did is this. Thunk. I gave you a real handsome looking dude to think about the CAST rule. And look at his t-shirt. It says, always remember the CAST rule. And I've got it for you. Look, add sugar to coffee. Everybody's positive, only sine's positive, only tangent's positive, only cosine's positive. So that means if this is a positive sign, right, that means cosine's negative, tan's negative. Okay? If this is a positive tan, that means sine is negative, cosine's negative, and the only one that's positive are your tan values. Okay? Look at this. In this particular quadrant, your sine is negative, your cosine is positive, but your tan is negative again. Don't forget to remember the add sugar to coffee rule or CAST rule as they have written out here. Okay? Whatever way you want to remember it, either as CAST or add sugar to coffee, I'm going to tell you right now, that becomes incredibly valuable. And it's all based on this. Look at quadrant 1. Look, your X values are positive, your Y values are positive. So every ratio is positive. Back here, your X is negative. So whatever has an X in it now is going to make the ratio negative. So look, cosine has an X in it. It's negative. Tangent has an X in it. It's negative. Right? Keep on going. If you look at the third quadrant, there's your negative X. There's your negative Y. So both sine and cosine, because sine has a negative in it, cosine has a negative in it. Right? But being that tangent is a negative over a negative, it works out to be positive. And then finally in quadrant 4, your X is positive, your Y is negative, right? So anything with a negative Y in it, like sine or tangent, those are both negative, but since cosine is based on the X value, there you go. Okay? So don't forget, you can do add sugar to coffee, or you can do this wonderful thing called the CAST rule. Entirely up to you. Now, in the next podcast, I'm going to show you how to put those to work.